I can see most of us here are from coffee industry, right? Yes, maybe no? No? So who works in the coffee industry? Maybe quite few, okay. And who loves coffee, like makes a lot of coffees at home but does not work in the industry? Okay. And the rest of the people are just happy to be here with us tonight. All right, well, it might be confusing, I think, for everyone, regardless if we are in the industry or not. The few things we're going to be talking today will be a little bit overwhelming, confusing, but fun. Keep enjoying your coffees. All of the other coffees are on the way, so as we're talking, you will be given the coffees, and as we've discussed earlier, try to memorize your flavors. This is what Sash does. You know, he jumps into, he has these big ideas and he has no idea how to make things work. The beginning of Ona Coffee, next slide, please. Was very, very humble. About 15 years ago now, decided to roast our own coffee. This is our house in Gordon from my wife and myself. And at the time, I decided to buy the cheapest coffee roast I could possibly buy. Has guarantee. Installed it at home by myself. Obviously not a. I've lasted there about 8 months. 8 months later, the inspection came, health inspection. I said, "What are you doing?" Well, home roasting. I said, "Well, that doesn't look like, you know, Kona branding." So some of you may be familiar back in early days why we were called Kona. But that's kind of when I've decided to jump in. You know, had a great idea, and the idea was I'd love to make amazing coffees. Business plan was written on a napkin. I wish I still have that napkin. And I sat down with 2 employees. One of them worked with us for a very long time, Aaron Cowboy. Some of you might remember him from Monica back in early days. Another one is still with us, Angus Mackey. We sat down in a pub and we said, well, you know, I'd love to start a new company. We want to start creating and making these beautiful, delicious coffees. We want to start roasting. To be honest, I have no idea how to do roasting. I had, you know, for first quite few months, I had probably fire once every month because did not know how to clean the roaster. So after 1 month, I realized, I have fire in the chimney, so I should clean chimney. I have a fire in a, you know, underneath of the fence, I should clean fence. So a lot of fires. And it kind of shows that maybe that idea and the true passion and true love, even though how hard it is, it was not really that hard. You know, during the day working in a cafe, nighttime roasting, after nighttime trying to maybe connect with someone and get a you know, hopefully get a first wholesale account. Took about 12 months to sign the very first wholesale account. Numbers in a wholesale for first 12 months, we turned over $20,000 in 12 months. So not very profitable business, but you know, never really wanted to give up. Back then, 15 years ago, a lot of people were thinking coffee is grown in Italy. If you're Italian, you must be a good barista. You know, Canberra was all of these Italian imported coffee brands, and nothing wrong with this, obviously. But at least back then we knew, hey, fresh coffee it's actually, or freshly roasted coffee will give us that advantage. So there were some of the beginnings of Ona Coffee. Like about several years later, I realized that no matter how good idea you have and how hard you work and how much love what you do, you need a team. You need a team of amazing people that can help us to bring these ideas to life and then create something amazing. So we're going to talk at the end a little bit about the team. But that idea of having the business plan on a napkin and I want to make amazing coffees, it's still here. You know, it's still present within all of us. It will always be there. This is why we've decided to, you know, do what we do. And tonight we're going to be talking about it. Like, what is that amazing coffee? And throughout these years, we managed to collaborate with, you know, winemakers. We managed to collaborate with scientists, with microbiologists, like with so many industry experts to understand complexity of the coffee. And today we're going to start breaking it up a little bit. What is it we're actually tasting, and why do we taste the way what we taste? Next slide, thank you. Okay. this is going to be confusing. So when we taste coffee, can we drop this a little bit so we can see aroma volatile compounds? So when we're tasting coffee, like what we have in a liquid is, and what we can measure in that liquid is this. It's non-volatile compounds. Sometimes when we go, hey, our coffee is a little bit bitter. Yeah, okay, what we're tasting here is we're tasting alkaloids, and it's a caffeine. Most of the caffeine is going to give us a lot of bitterness. Okay, when we extract caffeine, we're actually extracting caffeine at the end of the extraction. It's a kind of good fact to know as a baristas, because if you want to have less extraction, we don't necessarily need to push it as much, so we will get a little bit less of that caffeine. We'll reduce that bitterness as much as possible. And then we have all of these other minerals. Some of the baristas would measure this by using a refractometer, total dissolved solids. We are familiar. People that are not familiar maybe remember it. TDS, if you can look it up. I think we have a refractometer here, possibly, Danny? Somewhere. He's too busy. We can get back to it later on. But this tells us how much of coffee we have actually dissolved in the beverage. Normally we can dissolve 18 to 20%, 22% with the extraction, and that's what we're hoping to sort of get. Today, we're not going to be talking about non-volatiles. We're going to be talking about aroma volatile compounds. And the way we measure aroma volatile compounds, it's actually not liquid. We're measuring the aromas. We're measuring the vapor, the hot steam that's actually present in a cup. Now, all of these aroma volatiles are in charge of giving us the flavor of the coffee. So when we're tasting chocolate, strawberry, blueberry, we're actually tasting the aroma volatile or combination of aroma volatiles that are reminding us of these particular flavors. Make sense? Cool. Now, 80 to 90% of what we taste in a cup, it's throughout the aroma volatiles. It's from the nose. I think I'm on the 90% side because of the size of this thing. So usually when you taste coffee, if you close your nose, you're not going to taste as much. The moment we open the nose, we're starting to taste a lot more flavors. So we're going to be concentrating on this quite a lot today. Let's move it to the next slide, please, honey. So I've started doing a research with Coffee Excellence Center, Zurich University of Applied Science, Professor Chahan. And these people, they are number one in the world to study aroma volatile compounds in the coffee. They have a great equipment, they have a great knowledge, they have most of all very passionate scientists that are in love with the coffee, just like we are. So we started collaborating with them about 4 years ago. I've introduced Professor Chahan to be part of the Sanremo team. So when we are building certain things in Sanremo, in the coffee machines or the coffee grinders, we really want to understand the science, how that's coming out. We've also introduced Professor Chahan in the Nucleus Coffee Tool Company with the Paragon. And now we've decided to work with them on a farm level as well. But before we talk about the work we've done, I'd love to introduce a little bit more about what does that mean, aroma volatile compounds. So when we taste coffee, a lot of us think, hey, there's about 1,000 different aroma volatile compounds in a cup. There possibly is. But we've measured in the university 80 different aroma volatiles for the wash process coffee and about 120 different aroma volatiles for the natural process coffee. Today you're going to be having an example of one of each. You probably can guess which one is more cleaner, which one is a bit more funky and more fruity and gives us more flavors. So we can sort of obviously say, well, there's a lot more aroma volatiles available in one of these two cups. But what's really interesting is we can detect only about 30 aroma volatiles when we taste. It's what we call above threshold. So there's 30 that we can actually taste and we can say, well, this reminds us of something. We're not quite sure what. But there's, all of the other ones are what we say below threshold. The way that works is some of the flavors or some of the, aroma volatiles, we might have a combination of 2 or 3 aroma volatiles to give us particular flavor. But with some aroma volatiles, we might have individual aroma volatile that reminds us of particular flavor. Example, there's a really small aroma volatile compound. It's called beta-demascenon. That one reminds us of rose water. But that one, when it's low intensity or below threshold, of course, we can't smell anything. Then when it goes above threshold, certain point or certain atomic pressure, it goes, well, this tastes like rose water, but when it goes to really, really high level, it changes to smoke. So not every time it means that we want to keep increasing the particular aroma volatiles, because smoke is not generally popular flavor in a coffee. But sometimes we might have two aroma volatile compounds that are above threshold, and then we can do something to push the third aroma volatile compound, and then we suddenly, with the combination of these three, we go, wow, we got a new flavor, which is the case that's going to be happening in one of these coffees. Next one, honey, please. Okay. So if anyone wants to take photo, if you're really nerdy, go for it. It's super, super interesting. What this means, this is the actually code for your aroma volatile compound. So each one of these codes, you can go on a Google, you can type it in, and it's going to tell you that it's, possibly methyl butanol, for example, for this one. But in some other countries, this aroma volatile compound might be called slightly bit different. So the really accurate number is what we're looking is actually this. Here we can see how sensitive this aroma volatile compound is. So if it has certain amount, that gives us a sensory threshold. So some aroma volatile compounds are really big, so we need only small amount of it so we can detect it. Really small aroma volatile compounds, we need high intensity so we can actually smell something. And then we started coming up by separating these aroma volatile compounds, and on the other side being able to smell them and to actually see what flavors this particular aroma volatile compounds are reminding us of. This gives us the data that all the way from the farm level, we can recognize what coffee has potential of, what's below threshold, what's above threshold. So we don't make the coffee go, oh my God, I'm tasting strawberry. How come I'm tasting strawberry? We can actually understand that we have possibly increased the particular aroma volatile compound that gives us some more strawberry. So next time when we are fermenting and processing this coffee, we can target that to actually highlight it throughout the processing, fermentation, as well as the brewing these days. Cool. Next one. So this takes us to the experiment. Aris Estate. Has anyone heard of this farm at all? Yeah, possibly a little bit. Cool. So this is the farm that I've started in 2017 with a great friend, Jamison Savage in Panama. If some of you are not familiar, this is Jamison just over there. About 12:30 last night, we had a long chat about the processes and what we're going to do actually for the next 12 months. But the goal with this project is we started in 2017. It's a new farm that there was no coffee grown before. We wanted to find something that's a really unique terroir, and also to make sure that it's not established farm. Normally, a lot of established coffee farms, we're going to see more, I guess, a lot less shade. We will see kind of like in winery, like rows of vineyards. But when we go to Ethiopia, which is my favorite place for the coffee is grown there in the nature. Like when you look up, all you can see is dense trees, dense shade, smaller production. And also people in Ethiopia, they don't actually do much with a coffee when it comes to farming. All they do once a year, they pick the coffees, they taste amazing, they don't use fertilizers, they're not doing a lot of farm management. Kind of coffee is a part of the nature, that's what it is. So our goal here is to actually plant coffee trees to become part of this nature in our Aris Estate. What's really cool, super high altitude, 1,800 meters, all the way up to 2,300 meters. It's very challenging to grow coffee under such extreme elevations in Panama because anything above 2,000 meters, it gets really cold. Coffee trees do not like cold weather. We've tried to grow it here for so many years in the office and in and out, and it's not quite working, but we'll keep trying. But beauty with this place is that we've grown a lot of green tip geisha, we have Parainema, and so many different varietals that we've taken from all over the world to sort of plant them. Some of you would maybe recognize this super rare varietal or amazing varietal, green tip geisha. It's kind of paving the pathway of the future of the coffee. Recently on auction in Panama, some of the coffees have been sold for about $5,000 a kilogram. And yeah, it's expensive and probably overrated for that price, but I'm excited to actually see that people are starting to recognize that coffee has a value. Like a lot of us would think that for a lot of people, coffee is just coffee. But coffee is an amazing product that has so many different flavors. So our goal here was to recognize and to make to adapt our coffee trees in Irish estate to really understand how we can celebrate the terroir, how we can celebrate the varietal, and to grow it to the best possible way. So here you can see the quite few different fermentation techniques that we have done in order to sort of see what's happening with the flavors. Has everyone got a coffee yet or not? No? There's a few more. Who has not been?
Everyone's got both?
Everyone's got both coffees?
The last slide.
Amazing. Cool. This is a really good timing. So the small cup. People that have gone through hot, cold, medium temperature already, what are we tasting in a small cup? What sort of flavors do we get out of that coffee?
Stone fruit.
Stone fruits? Yeah. Honey? Cool. Some floral notes as well, kind of white florals, honey, gentle, elegant, refined. So these notes are very typical notes for wash process geisha coffee. What I'm finding with this coffee is that when we're drinking wash process geisha, we're always looking at white florals, some stone fruit, some orange, really elegant, really silky, really refined coffee. Even though I said let's not talk about acidity, but it has that beautiful, like really nice sparkling mouthfeel, super gentle, super elegant. So that's typical green tip geisha varietal. What's a little bit special, in my opinion, for this coffee is it's very sweet, it's very creamy. Geisha coffees are usually flavor-driven, floral-driven, but then sweetness might not be as balanced with the acidity. Acidity always sticks out, and the aftertaste, we might even get a bit of that, whether it's a grapefruit or green tea, it's not possibly as sweet, as smooth as this one. First time when we've tasted Irish Estate in 2021, we just got that insane sweetness. And coffee did not have the florals and flavors that we're tasting today, but it had this crazy sweetness that we thought, we were excited because coffee is really sweet, but we were disappointed because people spend a lot of money if geisha has florals. If it doesn't have florals, they don't spend a lot of money. We invested a lot of time, a lot of energy into this crazy place. We kind of said, well, instead of planting 3,000 trees per hectare, we're planting 1,500 trees per hectare. We wanted to keep all of the shade. So instead of having 1 kilo production per tree, we have only 200 grams production per tree. So all of that offered, less trees per hectare, less production. Coffee has to taste exceptional, otherwise our business model does not work. But then as the tree started getting mature, we started tasting more and more flavors. And because we were so worried, how do we get these flavors out, we sort of started going around and started also talking and discussing with the scientists to actually, for us to understand how do we encourage these floral flavors as much as we can. And that kind of led us to, second slide, honey, please. He's gone. There you are. So that led us to start doing some experiments. We showed quite a few different experiments that we've done, but this time we've decided not to do an experiment to go on a farm like we usually do and then do so many different fermentations and in a way just hope for the best. We've actually done a lot of different fermentations, but we measured each one of these fermentations because our goal was for everyone to enjoy flavors that are coming from terroir, not the new flavors that are coming from the processing. Some people that are in the industry, you probably know the trend. Coffees are getting more fermented, they're getting more funkier. There's infusion happening, there's a lot of stuff happening in the coffee, which is exciting and a little bit, if we take maybe one or two wrong turns, we might leave the coffee industry in not as good hands as we maybe I would like to see us living. So our goal here was to understand all of the different aroma volatile compounds that we have in Aristera. There's about 80 of them. As I said, feel free to take a photo, and then each one of these aroma volatile compounds is going to give us representation of particular fruit. This here is the washed processed coffee that's in your small cup. So that's what we're tasting. And here we've done 2 more different processes, which we have on the real display over there. And by doing these 2 processes, we concentrated to increase the aroma volatile compounds from the coffee that are coming from the soil, from the varietal, and to increase them throughout the fermentation. So not to introduce the new flavors, but to, as I was saying earlier, to if we have these 30 aroma volatiles above threshold, to push some of the aroma volatiles that are below threshold so we can suddenly start seeing them. So let's talk about coffee number 2, bigger cup. What did we smell in this coffee? Or what did we smell, or what did we taste?
Strawberry.
Strawberry? Great.
Dark chocolate.
Chocolate? Nice. Any other notes? Tropical fruits? Cool. It's like different cup, right? Completely different farm. And so what's cool is, next slide, please. For me, when I taste this coffee, strawberry, raspberries, rose water, the personally body with the second coffee, for me it's a lot more creamier, especially if you're patient with it. When you wait for the temperature to cool down, that creaminess and that lactic acidity increases a lot. While in a wash process coffee, it's just silky, round, elegant, gentle. And the sweetness changes a lot. Sweetness from being maybe white sugar sweetness and nice and refined becomes more like candy store sweetness. So super, super sweet. So we have not introduced new flavors in a coffee, even though we think we have. We have managed to increase particular 4 main aroma volatiles, so we can actually see how these flavors are changing, and that bit of that sweetness becomes more candy sweetness. As an example, the very first cup that we've tasted, it had that maybe white florals. But with the second coffee, we managed to increase this aroma volatile compound, which we'll talk about in a sec. This is the second coffee you're drinking. The very first coffee you're drinking is this intensity, which is a carbonic maceration natural process. So we managed to increase the intensity of this aroma volatile only by 3 times. With the metal ester, we managed to increase it by 2.5 times. So from basic stone fruit, now we're starting to see, raspberry notes. And the beauty when we're talking about aroma volatile compounds, it's not only the flavor, it's how we feel it on a palate as well. And that's where methyl propanol, it's really doing an amazing job that we can see a lot more of that creaminess. So this one here. So the way it works is coffee gets grounded, then it comes in these little tubes, and then from there this little tube is taken to gas chromatography machines. They look like a big printers, but about $1 million printers, so super, super expensive. And the way it works is it's sort of, there's a heating element at the bottom. And it slowly, temperature is getting heated from 20 to 25 degrees to 30 degrees. And at a particular degree, each one of these aroma volatile is separately released. So it takes about 30 seconds for one aroma to be released. It goes on the system, on the laptops and computers, and they can actually, and the machine spits out exactly what aroma volatile it's coming out. On the other hand, Samo, our friend, and his team, they would be smelling at that exactly the same time what's the aroma volatile they're smelling. It's a process that takes about 1 hour, and only one aroma volatile is smelled at a time. So about 15 seconds it takes for the aroma to come to the tube, and they might not smell anything, but if they smell something, they go, oh, I'm smelling a little bit of sweetness, and they write down 1 minute 50, I'm smelling sweetness. And then maybe in 5 minutes 47 seconds, they're smelling a certain flavor, and on and on. And then another coffee comes in, and then they're sort of seeing that, oh, in 1 minute 50 with coffee number 1, I could not smell anything, but now I'm starting to smell little bit of sweetness, but now I'm actually smelling candy-like sweetness. That process is repeated 4 times with the 4 sniffers, I call them. And then data is collected, and then we're using the data to see, okay, how we can continuously keep improving the coffees and keep working on it. Does this make a little bit of sense, maybe? Cool. Awesome. Next slide, please. So this is why we do it. Science is boring, but it can be really interesting. I wish my science teacher is here because I would always fail in science. But I love science because it makes coffee better. So we're going to continue collaborating with university. I actually work with them twice a year. I do some presentations about processing and fermentation. We're going to continue collaborating with them with the new geisha farm that we're going to start working in Brazil now, which we had a chat yesterday about. And really starting to use science to see how we can push these beautiful flavors of geisha, because now we have a lot of data, geisha in Panama, so we can start comparing geisha in Brazil and try different processes, seeing how we can elevate the flavors. Coffee is, of course, agricultural product. Every year it changes. We have more rain, it will affect how we taste. We have less rain, it will affect cold, hot, west, east facing, more shade, less shade. All of these things will make a difference. Coffee is 4 years old, it's 7 years old. It's always moving. It's never still, like us. In 12 months' time, we're going to be different what we are now. So coffee is exactly the same. But we cannot control the coffee, but we can recognize and understand the behavior of the coffee and adjust and adapt to it. And that's what we're trying to do in Iris Estate, to really be able to celebrate this amazing terroir, to have these coffee trees that are surrounded with the rocks, with the established trees. These trees are called Inga trees. They help to give us some more nitrogen, and to really have these coffee trees to be part of this nature and for us to enjoy the nature in the best possible way. So that's a little bit about why we've done what we've done. But next slide, please. And now that we have understanding about coffee A and coffee B, which coffee did you like more, by the way? First coffee or second coffee? Second, most of the people. First, purist, right?
I like the warm, I like the first one better, but by the end, when it was cooler, I like the second one.
Second, yeah. And I think they're both great coffees. It comes down to preference. What do we like more? And the reason we call this farm Iris, well, originally, I'm so bad with the names, actually. Let's talk about Ona Coffee. So Ona Coffee was established 15 years ago. If anyone is familiar, a big island in Hawaii, western part, it's a Kona region. Sash being Sash said, we might call ourselves Ona Coffee because it's really expensive coffee. I did not know what was good, what was bad. 6 months later, we rebranded everything Ona Coffee. 6 months later, I get a letter from people in Hawaii saying, well, dude, this is a trademark. Like, what are you doing? Like, get rid of these names immediately. So because of the low budget and everything else, I was sitting in front of the shop in Manuka, white background, Kona. And I'm thinking, what are we going to do? I can't afford another renovation or new branding. And I just put my hand over K. I said, this is going to work, ONA. So that's why Ona Coffee. Another bad or funny story name, Iris Estate, we called it Corona for 2 years. So 2017, Corona. Why Corona? It's a crown. And when you go to a beautiful farm, like it's a valley, and everywhere you look around, you have these beautiful mountains around. It's like a crown. So 2020, I called Jay. I said, man, I think we need to change the name. Nah, don't worry, it's going to be fun. No, let's change the name. Then we became a little bit smarter with the name, and we said, well, it's kind of, because when you look at a farm from the top, it looks like center of the eye, like iris. And then we done a little bit of research. Iris is the flower. Iris has over thousands and thousands of different varietals of the flowers, 1,000 different colors. Each one of these colors has a different feeling. So it's not only color the flower, but it has this like very spiritual meaning. And for us, a farm has a very spiritual meaning. It has a lot of different terroirs, a lot of different varietals, a lot of different microclimates. And we thought, well, we want people to not just to enjoy Irish estate as a farm itself, but to enjoy all of these little microclimates. Currently, the way we ferment coffees or the way we pick coffees, we have this beautiful farm. We pick coffees and we go, today we're going to do washed process. And then in 2 weeks, well, we're going to do this coffee as a natural process, regardless where it comes from. So we're excited about the future, what we're doing there, but also excited about the future, what we can do with the other farms that we work with. Okay. I'm over time as always, right? So is anyone familiar with Paragon here? A little bit? Yeah, cool. Where do we have Paragon? Do we have a rock somewhere? This was mine and Hugh Kelly's COVID project. So some of you would maybe know me personally. Sash travels a lot. He goes to the farms, he buys coffees, etc. When COVID came, not only that we needed to change the name of the farm, but I was stuck at home. Not even here, like literally stuck at home with the family, which was a great change. And start making coffees and start brewing a lot of coffees at home. But that brewing becomes obsessive because you're at home, you just continuously keep brewing coffees. And I've kind of realized that brewing coffee with Alex, my son was this tall back then, he's my height now. Brewing coffee with Alex, and I actually realized that my son is brewing coffees better than me. Being coffee professional, it did not quite make sense. And he was doing things that are completely different, making coffee with the dry paper filter and making it more tastier than me. And even like for 2 days, like he would make the same coffee. I make it in the morning. He said, it's a nice coffee with my wife. We drink it. Alex, can you please make coffee in the afternoon? He makes it. I think this is better than mine. And like after 2 or 3 days, I said, can we do a challenge? Like you brew one, I'll brew one, and we'll mark them underneath. We'll see which one is better. And for about a couple of months, he was beating me. Maybe out of 10 coffees, he would make 8 better coffees. I would make possibly 20% better. So I called up my Professor Chahan. He's at home as well, not in university. He said, listen, we need to do a project on filter coffees. I've traveled the world, I've done so much, but my boy is making better coffees than me. I want to know why. I want to do a project on a dry paper filter. Why do we wear dry paper filter? Because we think coffee is going to be papery, right? As a coffee professionals, but that's because we think, that's because we learned from someone else. That's how it is. So we just adapted. Alex was brewing coffee right in the middle, super fast, because his kettle was big, he was little tiny, so that's all he could do. And his V60 looked ridiculous. It made no sense, but it tasted better. So we kind of decided to do 3, 4, 5 projects, and then when you start talking with a scientist that loves coffee, he gives me idea, maybe you should try this technique, or you should try that technique. We kept talking about my experience in 2016 with the Berg Wu, because then he said, well, Berg Wu, the World Barista Champion, used the porter filter in 2016, but it was cold. We were all told that porter filter has to be on the machine, it needs to be hot so we can extract more and everything. At the time, 2016, probably second best coffee in my life I've tasted with a cold porter filter. 2017, Hugh Kelly competing in Korea in World Barista Championships, head of coffee. First round in the world, best espresso in the world. Semi-finals, best espresso in the world. Finals, we aged coffee too much, so he finished number 5. But the point is that when Hugh Kelly gave me his coffee, we were tasting it, and I remember Sam Cora giving me the cup, literally like this, and I'm smelling this coffee, and it was like a bouquet of flowers. And I'm having a go at Sam Cora. I had Rose. I said, man, you should know better. You're washing your hands with a soap that's, remind me of Rose. And I'm really yelling at him. He goes, no, Sasha, I did not use the Rose. And I said, you can't. This coffee has way too much aroma. At the time, we thought that the coffee has a lot of aroma because we've done wash carbonic maceration. It's a new process. But little did we know that Hugh Kelly used the frozen cup, and he extracted the coffee in the frozen cup. Little did we know that when Berg Wu used the cold portafilter, it kind of dropped down the temperature and highlighted the aromatics and gave us more flavor. So I said, well, this is interesting. COVID was a little bit released. We could start going back in the office and say, Kelly, we need to do some work. So I put one of these cups in a freezer. I filled it up with the water, makes it ice, and then run the espresso shot over this cup. I said, fuck, this is tasting good. I said, well, let's do the experiments. Let's do this, with 5 coffees, 500 times. One is making the coffees over the ice rock. Ice rock was a lot easier than, freezing the cups. And then we realized there's something here. There's something to do that we're actually getting more flavors and more aromas by cooling down the extraction. So we're going to talk about this for the next 5 or 10 minutes. So do you guys make, and girls and ladies and do you make cold brews at home? Or do you drink cold brew coffees? Yeah. And what sort of flavors do you usually get when you make cold brew?
Chocolate, maybe some berries.
Yep. Cool. So chocolate is easy to extract. Every coffee has chocolate. Every coffee has some citrus. And then when we start getting some more fruits, we normally can encourage these fruits or florals or jasmine notes or rose water when we do hot extraction. So when we do cold extraction, we don't get many aroma volatiles. You know how we were saying 30? Maybe we get 5 or 10, but definitely not all of the 30 above threshold. The hotter we extract, more aroma volatiles we get, which is amazing. But the problem is the hotter we extract, after the extraction, more aroma volatiles we lose. Because after the extraction in a portafilter, this espresso is really hot, and as it's traveling, aroma volatiles, the light aroma volatiles, they are disappearing in the environment. When we make hot coffee, it smells great, right? When we go in a cafe and, oh my God, this smells amazing. When we make hot plunger or hot pour over, it smells beautiful. These aromas are gone. We want them in the beverage. We don't want to have them to be enjoyed by the environment. We want to enjoy them. So we started going really, really deep in understanding behavior of aroma volatile compounds in how we brew coffee. So we obviously want to capture them. Next slide, please. This was our second prototype after the frozen glasses. Of course, got back to Chahan. I said, this is working. Sensory-wise, we're actually tasting a lot of differences. We're getting more flavor, more aroma. The way we obviously test, we get coffee A, coffee B without knowing, and then we taste, and then after 20 coffees for the day, we reveal results. We were going crazy here. Just us tasting tons and tons and tons of coffees. We had a great time. But we realized that we want to invest a lot more energy, more time, more obviously funds into scientific testing. So we've actually learned that, freezing the spouts, we've kind of gone through the process. Let's freeze the spouts, see if that works better than having the ice rocks. And we got some really good results with the spouts, but we've also realized that when we have a frozen spout, it's actually interrupting the extraction, because it's going to change the coffee pack. If it sits here for 30 seconds or for 2 minutes, all the big differences. So we thought we need to concentrate only on a post-extraction variable. We don't change extraction. You extract coffee how you normally do. Post-extraction variable is after the extraction we introduce this element. Same with the filter coffee. You have your V60, extracts the way it extracts, and then we have ice rocks to catch it so we can get more aroma volatiles. Then we're studying, okay, how cold does this need to be? And we've learned that minus 20 degrees is fine if it's coming directly from the freezer into the cup. Minus 10 degrees, minus 20, minus 40, minus 60, no difference. We're catching the same amount of aroma volatiles with these temperatures. The moment we go to 0 degrees, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, we're catching a little bit more than nothing, but not as many as we would like. Next slide, please. One of the early experiments with the espresso. This is our reference, just normal coffee. You can see here at the bottom the number of different aroma volatile compounds. So about 80 different volatiles. Just to make you a bit more familiar with the graph, this is the intensity of aroma volatiles. So when we go 10%, 20%, 30, 40%. So for the espresso, and we can also group the aroma volatile compounds. The light aroma volatile compounds are the ones on this side. The heavy aroma volatile compounds are the ones on this side. Makes sense, because lighter volatiles are going to disappear earlier. Hopefully we can catch them and we can capture more. What's really cool is that most of the aroma volatile compounds that are fruity and floral, they are the lighter ones. We usually catch them in the first part of the extraction. So when we do some of the espressos, if you are really into it, or maybe if you watch World Barista Championships, when Hugh introduced it in 2021, he was brewing only first 12 grams throughout the ice rocks and then removing the ice rocks and continued extracting without the ice rocks because he wanted to increase these aroma volatile compounds more. Some other coffees, like today we were brewing some amazing Liberica. It's actually really amazing. We've been working on that project for 4 years and it's finally amazing. But because Liberica has quite a bit of meatiness and savory notes and kind of salami, maybe cigar, by running all 5 pours throughout the extract chilling rock, we kind of managed to reduce down these heavy notes and increase some fruity notes. But very rarely we will have 5 pours or the entire extraction to be run throughout the rocks. So as you can see here, ice rocks for 12 grams and then the frozen spouts. Frozen spouts like Berg did, World Barista Champion, served us amazing coffee. He's definitely increased aroma volatiles. He decreased some of them. Welcome.
Thank you.
So he decreased some of them, and we believe that's due to we are interrupting the extraction. So we should not be touching the extraction. And with the ice rock first 12 gram, we managed to increase few of the aroma volatiles up to 40%. So well, this is exciting, this works. Let's see how this works in a filter coffee. Next slide, please. So Q was kind of concentrating on the espresso while I decided to enter the world of filter. And our solution was obviously post-extraction, focusing on the moment just after extracting. So the goal was to have this ice rock that's just underneath, not this far, because in this distance, the hot liquid would travel and the light aroma volatile will have a higher chances to disappear. So we wanted to make sure that it's just touching. And the crucial moment is that, the liquid is sort of just underneath there. Next one, please. So this is really cool graph for Irish Estate. Here we could isolate all of the, and we've numbered all of the aroma volatile. Some of you might remember metal ester, that raspberry sort of note. Coffee we made for you today, both coffees were with Paragon. We've done only first 2 pours today. We have not done the full extraction. However, with the second coffee, that's like really fruity coffee, you two guys might enjoy it because I can see you like more refined flavors. By running the 5 pours throughout the Paragon, you'll get a bit more clarity, a bit more lightness, and sort of bit more sort of floral notes as opposed to fruity notes. So kind of concentrating more on the pink characters. That's clearly obvious because metal ester is giving us these beautiful red-pink notes. And by running the full extraction throughout the Paragon rocks, we've increased, honey, we can't really, oh, there we go. We've increased about 40%. Sorry, this one is actually about 50% of this family of aroma volatiles, particularly metal ester. Think of the raspberry candy notes. But with the first 2 pours, we have still increased it, but about 30%. So you can kind of shift and decide which aroma volatiles you want to increase so you can enjoy the flavors how you like. Make sense? Cool. Next slide, please. And that's just a little bit of summary when we discuss Irish Estate or some of the things that when we're doing a testing in our lab, sensory testing, we would evaluate coffee hot, warm, cold. We're evaluating flavor, aftertaste, acidity, and blah, 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 blah. And then it's really how these coffees are behaving when we do extract chilling, no extract chilling, wash process versus CM process. And having this data that we actually send back to university and them studying it, we have some really good information to see how we can continuously keep pushing the boundaries, keep making coffees as best as we can. And also if we have a particular issues, we can sort of look at more precisely what's the issue do we have and how do we attack it better next time. Next slide, thank you. We're pretty excited. I mean, COVID was challenging for all of us, but for me what was really cool is to be at home and to actually realize that we can learn coffee from everyone. You know, I've been lucky enough to meet so many amazing people, to be a friend with so many of these world champions, but who really inspired me was my son, 12 years old boy, brewing coffee, and maybe, you know, him opening my mind that we have opportunity, you know, every day of the week, whether we're at home brewing casual coffees, that we should be open-minded. Like sometimes, no matter what we do, how good we are in what we do, we reach certain level and we start, if someone does something differently, we kind of maybe judge it. We're not as open. So Alex completely opened up my mind for us to sort of do the studies. And you know, Kelly trusted the process. He's the man that introduced the idea in 2021. The same year when we coached Matt Winton to win World Brewers Championships, I think it was probably the biggest success of Ona ever, 2021. Hugh Kelly finishing number 3 in the world. Sam Cora, roaster, coached Swiss Barista Champion to win World Brewers Cup. We had a cup tasting World Barista Champion, Charlie, that's now based in Korea. And we've also decided to coach a friend from Kenya because we wanted to give back and help, and he made the finals as well with sort of that support. But going back to the extract chilling, Matt Winton used in his compulsory service the ice rocks in immersion method. And then obviously GB Little, when she won World AeroPress, used the extract chilling technique. Gorham used the Paragons, which I think they're going to be launched in a week and a half, 2 weeks. They'll finally arrive to Australia. And finally is Giacomo, our friend. So we are pretty pleased with what's happened. We actually, it's giving us a lot more energy to continuously keep understanding the aroma volatiles. We have not really done that much of the work when it comes down to roasting. When we roast coffee, how do we roast in a better way to highlight more aroma volatiles? How do we age it? So we're excited to sort of start opening that chapter to really connect it, because it's great to understand the farming, it's great to understand the processing, great to understand the brewing, but roasting is really crucial. So looking forward, I guess, working with the team, with university to really understand that, so we can taste more out of the coffee. And one more slide. The most important one. Obviously, none of that would happen. Like as I said at the beginning, yes, we can have these great ideas, but without a team, and we cannot go any far. So I'm really, in 15 years' time, when we've opened up the very first Ona Coffee in Monaco, the very first roastery in-house. Yeah, I could not dream that we'll have this amazing team of people, and they can continuously keep innovating, keep driving the Ona bus in the directions where we're going. Still, you know, keep making that coffee as perfect as possible. So I'm very, very thankful for everyone that's on a bus. Really thankful for Canberra and the community that has accepted us for who we are. And yeah, looking forward to celebrating and making coffees as best as we can for the future for all of us. So thank you very much. Cool. Is there any questions that we have?